It's time to chill out and get ready for a mediocre Q&A live stream. If you're old enough, grab yourself your favorite adult beverage, and if you're not, stick with apple juice. Put your feet up and relax. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. And now let's cue up the intro music. Yo, how you guys doing? Hopefully you're all doing well. See, there's a lot of people in here already. Got some stuff I want to cover, and we will. It's weird. One of my screens is flashing. I don't know why. It's doing it just to mess with me, but it's not doing it on your guys' side. But anyways, got some stuff I want to cover and lots of questions I want to answer, and we'll get to it. Okay, I see you guys in the chat. Do me a favor, if you guys have questions, please put them in caps lock. It helps us to field the questions, okay? It's totally okay for you guys to have your separate chat going on, and that's the way that we separate the separate chat from the questions that you want me to answer. Feel free, if I don't answer your questions, to post them again. You're not going to hurt my feelings. Just go ahead and post them again. It's not a big deal, okay? So definitely put them in caps, though, okay? Let me see what we have going on here, okay? Hello to everybody that's in there. How you guys doing this evening? So, 4-liter powered, you got it, man. It was just married. I got to figure out, like, for some reason I had the Nightbot set on a timer to put the movie quotes in a half an hour after the stream, but I think it starts the timer, not to confuse you guys, when the stream starts. It's a whole thing. But anyways, so it was supposed to do it 30 minutes after, and then it posted it like 2 minutes in, so go figure. But anyways, what I want to start off talking about today is a very interesting thing that happened. I don't know if you guys have heard about it. There was a restaurant back east somewhere. We're not going to name the restaurant because we don't need to give them any more negative publicity, because it wasn't the restaurant's fault. Just a horrible thing happened where one of the employees was cleaning the floors and he mixed some chemicals inadvertently. And actually someone ended up dying. If you guys haven't heard the story, just Google search it. It's super sad, okay? The reason why I bring it up was because the two chemicals that he mixed were basically, my understanding was it was a calcium, basically it was phosphoric acid and bleach, okay? Which if you guys, so he had like a floor cleaner supposedly. There's a couple different news articles, but I happened to talk to the same restaurant chain because I do some work for them. And I was talking to a manager here locally, and he was kind of explaining what happened. But someone inadvertently mixed some chemicals, apparently a lot of chemicals, and the smell made the person run out of the restaurant. And then the manager came in and started trying to clean up the mess, and the manager actually died from it, which is really, really sad. I have personal experience with that because I have inadvertently done the same thing. Nobody got hurt, thankfully, okay? It was very easy. In my situation, I was cleaning an ice machine. I was using clear, pure phosphoric acid ice machine cleaner, which is like the new Calgon Clear. I had cleaned the ice machine, and I did everything correct. I cleaned the ice machine, went through the cycle, everything dumped down into the drain, and then I went to sanitize the ice machine, and we used to use bleach, which is actually a very good sanitizer. So I poured bleach in the ice machine, sanitized the ice machine, cleaned everything off, and then dumped that down. And for whatever reason, it still baffles me to this day, when that dumped down the drain, it made a chemical reaction, and the chlorine gas started coming up out of different floor drains inside the restaurant. It was very scary for me because luckily there was no customers in the building, and in my situation, and the exhaust fans were running, and I happened to have a water hose from cleaning the ice machine, so I just dumped it down the drain and just flushed out the drains. Again, to this day, I still can't fathom that the mixture would be perfect for that ice machine cleaner and the bleach to mix. There must have been ice machine cleaner in the trap and then the bleach. You know, I mean, it was just, you know, just a perfect storm, basically. And I've heard a couple other people say the same thing. So I want to remind you guys about mixing chemicals, being really careful in this situation. I mean, it was a horrible accident, you know, and unfortunately someone lost their life, and that's, you know, that's crazy. But, you know, we work with those chemicals. My van doesn't have bleach in it, but my van has all kinds of cleaners, you know, sitting at it. And I'm sure that there's all kinds of rules about storing those cleaners that we probably don't follow, that we probably need to be careful about. You know, we need to be very cautious about that stuff, and we need to make sure that we get to go home at nighttime. So, you know, we got to be really, really careful and make sure that, you know, we're watching out for ourselves, and then also paying attention to what other people are doing. Because when that story came across the news, I immediately thought there was someone there cleaning an ice machine, and I was worried. Of course I was sad for someone losing their life, but my next reaction was, oh my gosh, that service company. Holy moly, you know, and it ended up not being a service company, but that was my first thing, just because that happened to me. And it's so easy to inadvertently do. And to this day, I mean, bleach is still I would love to be able to use bleach. I can't use bleach anymore. And the only reason why I don't use bleach anymore is because I don't want my employees responsible for using bleach. So we just follow ice machine manufacturers' installation and cleaning instructions, and we just use the SMS sanitizer solution by New Calgon, you know. So it's a different type of sanitizer, but you still got to be careful mixing the chemicals, you know. So it's really sad, but it's just one of those things. You got to be really, really careful. So it's a really scary thing. So yeah, any kind of chemicals, really. Bleach mixed with anything is just no bueno. You don't want to be doing it. Okay, and just remember that we have some heavy-duty cleaners in our van. I mean, that's phosphoric acid is no joke either, and that's pure ice machine cleaner. It's no joke. And that's the clear, you know. A lot of times the nickel safe is like a citric acid, but even that can have chemical reactions mixing that with stuff. You know, one of the things that we need to think about too is if you guys use a pump sprayer for chemicals, you know, you got to be careful about that too. So personally, I don't like putting chemicals in my pump sprayer, but I do occasionally, and I make sure that I rinse it really, really well to make sure that we don't have any problems. But yeah, you just want to be so careful because it could end very badly. So I want to talk about the, and again, we're trying to help Sporlan out with their 85th anniversary promotion they have going on with these pint glasses. These, I've shown these a million times, okay? Sporlan's giving these away. I'm going to go through just real quick, show you guys a really simple thing on how to do these. And what I'm going to do, bear with me here, is we're just going to post I'm going to make it easy for you guys, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to screen share here right now. And what we're going to do, hang on just one second, is we're going to make a post really quick, and I'm going to show you guys how easy this is for those of you. I don't know why it's so difficult to do this for some people. So I'm just going to show you guys just in case anybody's, you know, confused on how this works. So what we're going to do is we're going to, let me turn this off. I'm going to go ahead and transition over, and we have the screen share going on right now. Okay, so really easy. I'm just going to go to my Facebook feed. I'm currently on my phone using the Samsung Dex app. So I'm going to go to my Facebook feed right now, and I'm just going to post a picture and make a post. So bear with me because I can't type without staring at my keyboard. But it's just as easy as all you got to do is put the hashtag or the pound sign for us old guys. Sporlin 85. That's it right there. Just as easy as that. I'm going to post a picture from my phone. Okay. Right here. There's a picture. Done. And let's go ahead and there we go. Done. That's all we need to do. Hit done. Got a picture, a bunch of stuff that I've posted. Let's post that on there real quick. And it's as simple as that. Sporlin 85. I've entered the contest now. Okay, super easy, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this screen share off real quick. And let's go ahead and turn my webcam back on, transition that back over. Can't really beat that. Super, super easy. I am going to go back to this app in a little while and show you guys some more stuff with it. But what I want to do right now is see if I can't. There we go right there. Move this over here. Go ahead and minimize that. Super easy, guys. Yeah, I know I need to learn to type, definitely. So just post any picture that you guys have of any Sporlin products with the hashtag Sporlin85. Okay. If you guys, at this point right now, you're really good odds of winning. Okay. They're going to be doing this contest until December 31st. And all that you got to do is put that hashtag in there. And then if you guys win, they'll send you guys one of these cups right here. Okay. This is for their 85th anniversary. And again, this is going to be going on until December 31st. You guys all have a chance to win. So it's on Facebook and Twitter. That's all you got to do is post it out in there. It's simple as that. Okay. Hashtag Sporlin85. That's it. You don't need to tag them or anything. What happens is someone from Sporlin is basically going to go on Facebook and Twitter, and they're just going to type in the hashtag because you can search by hashtag. So you type in the hashtag Sporlin85, boom. And every post that anybody's had comes up, and so they can look and see, and they just basically take the people that entered, they throw them into a drawing, and you guys get a chance to win one of those cups. So give it a shot. They basically haven't had a lot of entries into this, so you guys have really good odds of winning. So give it a shot, guys. All right, let's get to some questions here. What do you guys got going on in here? I'm seeing. Let me see. We got any questions? Remember, again, really keep okay, so oh yeah, David, Air Conditioning Solutions, you said you use a coil cleaner that is so harsh it burns your skin. Well, most of the coil cleaners will. If you use Refrigeration Technologies makes a cleaner called it's the Hvacr HD cleaner. It's a lot less corrosive. It's still a degreasing cleaner, and it works really well. That's a really good mild cleaner. And then they also have the heavy duty, kind of like the New Bright, the blue stuff that foams like crazy. They also make that one too. So, excuse me. All right. Let me see. Okay, so I'm going to go through my list right now. Again, post your questions in the chat right here in caps lock, and we'll get to them. Okay. So I had a question about low pressure controls, okay, and how to set up low pressure controls. The person that emailed me was my buddy, Chad, and he just asked me, just to clarify some things about pressure controls, okay? So setting up low pressure controls. First off, you need to know what the system, what type of system you have if you have a low pressure control, okay? And what I mean by that is the low pressure control just as simply a loss of refrigerant safety? So when the refrigerant runs out, it shuts the system off? Or is it being used as a pump down low pressure control? So a pump down system, we do that to try to reduce refrigerant migration up to the compressor when the system's in the off cycle, okay? So what we do is we'll pump the system down, and the liquid line solenoid valve will shut off, and then the refrigerant basically just stops behind the liquid line solenoid valve. So with that being said, you can also take a low pressure control, and you can also use it as a temperature safety, okay? Understanding that refrigerant pressures and temperatures have a direct correlation, okay? The temperature of the evaporator and the air temperature inside the walk-in, let's say we're dealing with a walk-in cooler, the walk-in box downstairs is directly related to the pressure in the system. Okay, with that being said, we can set up the low pressure control to act as like a safety to make sure that the coil doesn't freeze up. So if we know that we want to maintain 35 degrees in the box, we know the evaporator TD, okay, we can set the low pressure control to make sure that the box will never get below 35 degrees. You need to be careful with this though, okay? There's a lot of things that come into play here, especially if you have remote systems and especially if you have head pressure control valves and different things like that. When it gets really cold outside, if the low pressure control cut-in temperature is set too high, that can be an issue, okay? So, but on a typical pump down system, what you typically want to do is you want to talk to the manufacturer of the compressor and you want to see what they recommend the low pressure controls at. So if I'm dealing with 404A, most of the time on a pump down system, I'm probably on a scroll compressor. I'm probably going to set the cutout at about 10 to 15 PSI and the cut in about 30 to 35 PSI, but you got to be careful, okay? You don't want short cycling. You got to kind of keep that number as, you know, the differential as big as possible because you can have short cycling, especially if you set it below 10 PSI on pump down, then the pressure relief in the compressor is going to open and basically bleed refrigerant back over. And then you're just going to have a short cycle situation where it goes on, off, on, off, on, off. Okay. So we really don't need to know, struggle too hard if it's a pump down system. You just want to make sure that the low pressure is not set too low to where the compressor is going to short cycle. Okay. So hopefully that answers your question there, Chad. If you got any more questions, feel free to send me an email, message me. You got my information. So, let's see what else. What causes locked rotor amps on a 3-phase scroll compressor or any compressor? Well, locked rotor amps, you're going to hit, that's a good question. So you're going to hit locked rotor amps. Let me think about that one, Familia, for a minute. Let's see if I can answer that correctly. Yeah, let me think about that for a sec before I stick my foot in my mouth and answer that incorrectly. Let's see. Any tips on troubleshooting using superheat and subcooling? AC Raider Edward. So the biggest thing about troubleshooting using superheat and subcooling is, first off, before you jump into the superheat and subcooling, we got to verify that we have proper airflow. Okay, superheat and subcooling can help you identify airflow if you're working on an air conditioning system, but you need to make sure you understand how the system works. Before you dive in and just use superheat or subcooling as a charging metric, you've got to verify that everything is working as best as possible. So if I walk up to an air conditioning system, I'm going to walk up to it and let's just say it's a package unit. I'm going to, before I put my service gauges on it, I'm going to make sure everything's working, the compressor's working, condenser fan motor, evaporators. I'm going to make sure that the evaporator fan blower wheel's not dirty, make sure the evaporator's not dirty, the filter's clean. Okay, then if I decide I need to put service gauges on it, then I'm going to put service gauges on it and I'll analyze the refrigerant saturation temperatures and then get superheat and subcooling and go from there, okay? I typically like to lean on the manufacturer to see what they recommend. If not, you can use rules of thumb, okay? You can use the target superheat calculation if you have a fixed orifice metering device, okay? So if you have a fixed orifice metering device, it's going to make you get indoor wet bulb temperature, outdoor dry bulb temperature, and then there's a calculation that's going to tell you what your superheat should be, okay? If you have an expansion valve, you're going to make sure that you have the proper subcooling, okay, coming out of the condenser to make sure that your condenser is performing properly. You are going to look at your superheat too, but you're going to pay a lot of attention to your subcooling. And again, you can use a rule of thumb on the subcooling, but you usually want to lean on the manufacturer too. So as far as tips, you know, the biggest tip I can say is talk to the manufacturer and see what they want you to have as far as superheat and subcooling numbers first. If you don't have that information from them, I would suggest using an app like Measure Quick. Measure Quick can definitely help you to diagnose systems and can help you to understand superheat and subcooling better too and how to diagnose with it. So I know I didn't answer a lot there, but hopefully I kind of touched on that one a little bit here. Let's see what else we got going on. Yeah. Stuart Thompson, I see what you're saying. Yeah, it is what happens when the motor doesn't turn, basically, okay? But, yeah, so he's typing that one in there. Okay, so I need to replace my evaporator. It is leaking. Dave Palladino. If it's leaking, then it's time to replace it for sure, bud. Okay, next question I want to address. I went through the Spoiling 85. I'm kind of going through my list right here right now. Is talk about the videos that I uploaded. Okay, so the videos that I uploaded recently were the beer walk-in with the dirty condenser, and that was an interesting one because Even after I cleaned the condenser with water, we were having issues with the condenser still running high head pressure. And then I found that it was actually still dirty inside. It was impacted very bad. But then I found that the fin pack had actually separated from the condenser coil tube. So it wasn't actually making good contact. So we are in the process of replacing that equipment. We haven't done it yet. I also released a bonus video last week where I showed a little airbag tool that I have. And that's this little tool right here. It was just kind of a update to that exhaust fan. Okay, it's a pretty cool little tool. You can get it from Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever. I also put an Amazon link in there where you can get 3 of them, I think for like 25 bucks or something like that. Very, very handy little tool to have in your truck stock. I think that was 15 bucks. I think the Amazon thing's like 25 where you get 3 of them. Today was a Hvacr blue reach-in, okay? And I want to talk about that a little bit because I always get all these questions when I upload the videos about the Hvacr blue system. So the Hvacr blue system is basically just kind of like a mini chiller, okay? And what it does is it takes glycol as a secondary cooling fluid, okay? The refrigerant is basically contained in the condensing unit, and then coming right out of the condensing unit is your liquid line. It goes to the expansion valve, and then it goes to a heat exchanger. That heat exchanger is your evaporator, okay? But then there's a secondary fluid going across the evaporator, and that's glycol. The glycol is being pumped by a transfer pump, and the glycol is then pumping up to the cold rail up on top of the box. Then it goes down to the evaporator section down below, or the base section down below, which isn't called your evaporator. They're now heat exchangers. It goes to the base section down below, and then it returns back to the glycol pump and just recirculates. So the interesting thing about that box is the reason why they do that is because it helps to maintain better temperatures inside higher ambient kitchens, okay? If any of you guys, and I mentioned this in the video too, if any of you guys have worked on any of the Hvacr systems before, they were very, very effective and they worked really well, but they had a lot of maintenance issues, drains plugging up, pan chiller motors going bad. The new design is actually very effective, very efficient. The one thing I will say about the new design is when you're watching a hot pull down, they take forever to come down to temperature, but they maintain temperatures once they get there very well. Really not much to them, okay? They're just a small little chiller is all that they are, okay? The condensing unit cycles basically off of those temperature sensors that I replaced, and that's pretty much it. Okay, the temperature sensors are in the return glycol coming back from the bottom section heat exchanger, and the temperature controller just looks at that glycol temp, and whenever the glycol temp gets high enough, it turns the condensing unit on and cools it. So the glycol pump is running 24/7 as long as that unit has power, and it's just circulating that glycol all the way around, and then the condensing unit just turns on and off, okay? So there's really nothing difficult about those. I get so many questions about how they work, but it's really just a little chiller. That's all that it is, okay? Nothing fancy to them. They just have a little Trolson IntelliTrol controller controlling them, and that's pretty much it. And like I mentioned in the video too, if you guys don't already know, Trolson and Hvacr are sister companies. They're owned by the same Illinois Toolworks, big giant conglomerate company, so they share a lot of the same components. So when the merger happened, Hvacr used to have their own controls, and they kind of ditched them all and then just adopted Hvacr used to have all their own controls. And when the merger happened, they ditched all theirs and went to the Trolson IntelliTrol controllers and then just kind of repurposed those existing controllers. So, all right. Let me see what else we got here. HVAC Kid, in what ways do receivers affect subcooling? Well, when you're dealing with a system with a receiver, I honestly don't know how to answer that question appropriately, Isaiah, but I know that when you're dealing with a receiver, we're really not going to pay too much attention to subcooling, okay? As far as you're not going to see 10 degrees subcooling on a system with a receiver very often, okay? You do use subcooling as an overcharge metric, okay? So you're going to look at it and say, okay, this system is got 30 degrees subcooling, something's wrong, okay? But typically the numbers that I see, and again, it depends on where you measure it, because that's the real thing. Where are you going to measure subcooling? You're going to measure it coming out of the receiver. You're going to measure it coming out of the liquid drain of the condenser. You're going to get different numbers at each one of those, okay? I've been thinking about doing experiments, Isaiah, about subcooling, but really it's just one of those things where I got so much going on. I need to do it, but it just hasn't become a priority for me to measure the subcooling to see how it changes and different things. Some people have been asking me, and I will get to it. about how the subcooling is going to change when the headmaster is bypassing or the head pressure control valve is bypassing and different things like that. But yeah, I just really don't even generally pay attention to subcooling, except for when you see a really high subcooling number. Okay, that's when you're really going to know that you got a dirty condenser. Crypto Fox, dude, thank you very much for that super chat. I really appreciate it, man. Let's see what else. All right. Okay, so I'm going to... Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is the R448 refrigerant, okay, R448A. I've been getting a lot of questions this week about converting systems to R448A. People have asked me, how hard is it? What kind of problems have I had? What's the process? It's really not that hard, guys, okay? First off, I'm going to say that my buddy Ralph, I don't know if he's still in here. He was in here before. I'm going to put his email in right now. Ralph works for Honeywell Refrigerants. He's always willing to answer your 448A questions, okay? So everything that I can't answer, which is going to be a lot, Ralph's going to be the person. I just put his email in the chat. You guys should definitely look that up, okay? Or give him an email. He'll answer all the questions you need. First off, 448A is not the only refrigerant out there. There's other refrigerants. There's 449, and I'm sure there's some other ones that can replace R404A too, okay? 448A mainly is, in my understanding, an R404A replacement refrigerant, okay? It's for medium and low temperature applications. I don't think it has very much use as an air conditioning or a high temperature application. They've got other refrigerants that work better with that, okay? But for a medium to low temperature application, 448A has been the refrigerant that I have chosen to go to when I'm changing 404A equipment out, okay? Any new refrigerant basically is going to be, if it's medium temp or low temp, is going to be 448A for me. Here in Southern California in 2019, we had a phase out of R404A where we're not allowed to use R404A for new installation anymore. There's a bunch of different rules, but in a nutshell, we're not allowed to use it anymore. There's some exceptions, but the changeover really hasn't been that bad, okay? The hardest thing was in the beginning, the changeover. The manufacturers didn't publish a lot of information of the like Heatcraft and Cold Zone and Tecumseh didn't have a lot of great information. And so we were having to, what was happening was equipment was being oversized, okay? Still worked okay. It's just our TDs were thrown off and things happened. Okay, it just basically didn't really affect the way that the unit worked. It just, the pressures didn't really make sense and different things like that. We've since kind of gotten some information and kind of learned how to properly use and size equipment when we're changing over to 448A. The biggest confusing part about 448A is the glide. It has a high temperature glide, okay? And it just basically changes the way that you size your equipment. Again, I'm going to ask you guys to send Ralph an email. He'll send you guys, he sent me a file today that had a ton of information. I can't even, there's so many PDFs in that file that I can't even send it in the chat. There's just so much going on, but there's a ton of information, okay? The biggest thing that you have to understand, 448A is meant to be used with polyester oil. If you're changing over from R12 or any of those gases, you're going to have to do some pretty big system retrofits, okay? If you're changing over from R22, it's really not a lot of changeover, okay? Although, if you're changing from R22, you do need to be careful because R22 had chlorine in it. 448A does not, so you can have refrigerant leaks. So you will have to change some seals and different things like that if you're changing the system over. You do have to be careful, but the operating pressures of 448A are nothing to be scared of. It actually looks almost identical to what R22 did. Very low condensing temps. I'm sorry, the pressure is basically almost modeled R22, but it actually is lower discharge temps than R22 too, okay? Because R22 typically ran a higher discharge temp. As far as converting from 404 to 448A, the best practices are to change the evaporator, change the expansion valve, the nozzle, okay? But that's not a perfect, it doesn't happen always that way, okay? You can utilize the existing nozzle in the metering or in the distribution tubes. You can utilize the existing expansion valve. What they're going to recommend is to try to adjust the superheat on the valve accordingly, okay? And if you can't get the superheat under control, then they actually will recommend just changing the power head, taking the existing 404A valve, putting an R22 448A power head on it, and seeing if you can adjust it from there. Then if it still doesn't adjust, then they recommend replacing the entire expansion valve. My thing is that if I'm going to do the conversion, I'm just going to get all that out of the way, and I'm just going to change the entire expansion valve. Personally, that's me, okay? You don't have to go that route right away. you can utilize the same equipment and just try to adjust it accordingly, okay? One of the biggest things you guys need to understand is you need to understand how to, or you have to adjust superheat on the expansion valves. You can't, in the past, we would just do an installation, slap in the valve, and walk away, or people would, I should say, just walk away. You're not going to get away with that with 448A refrigerant, okay? Especially if you're using an existing R404A valve, okay? You definitely need to check the superheat and adjust the valve accordingly, okay? Be very, very careful about that. But other than that, guys, it's really not that complicated. It really isn't, okay? Just make sure whoever's sizing your equipment understands that you're using R448A refrigerant, and they understand how to size the condensing unit accordingly. Because oftentimes in the very beginning, people were oversizing equipment because they didn't understand how to size it with the glide, basically, okay? So again, I'm going to post Ralph's email one more time, okay? He will answer all the questions that you need or that you have about 448A. It's really not that difficult, okay? And then when I was, I'll get to some more questions, guys, here in a second. But when I was talking to Ralph today, he had a really good idea. So I was just asking him questions about 448A, and he mentioned to me that he wanted me to give away some Honeywell swag that he has, okay? So he has some like tumbler cups, kind of like, they're not Yeti cups, but they're similar. They say Honeywell on them, and then he has some beanies that say Honeywell on them too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have Nightbot pick a couple different winners right now. We're going to start with the beanies. I'm going to pick 3 people. I'm going to give away 3 beanies, and then Ralph's going to send them to you guys. So what I need you to do is if the Nightbot picks your name, I need you guys to send me an email, okay? I'm not going to seek you guys out. So my email address is posted a million times in here. I'm going to type it right now. Okay. Again, I got to stare at the thing because I don't know how to type, even though I went through Jose can actually, no, I'm not going to explain that. I'm not smart enough to explain that properly on here right now. So at gmail.com. Okay. So hvacrvideos@gmail.com. This is my email right now. So if Nightbot posts your name in here right now, it's just going to do it off of the chat. So those of you that are in here right now, active in the chat, you're going to be entered to win. So when I pick your guys' name, I'm going to pick 3 people for beanies and 3 people for cups. You guys got to send me an email. Send me an email, say you want it, and then I will get your contact information and forward it to Ralph, and Ralph's going to send them out to you guys. This is open to the United States and Canada. So those of you that are in Canada can win, okay? Ralph said he'll ship up there or in the United States. So anybody that's not in the United States and Canada, sorry, guys. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and have the Nightbot pick your guys' names real quick. So hang on just a second. Let me pull this up. All right, so those of you that are chatting right now, there's about 32 eligible users. If you guys want to be entered into this, go ahead and start chatting right now. I'll give you a couple seconds to start chatting. And I'm going to give it a couple seconds. I'm going to give it, 30 seconds or something like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and pick a random winner. I'm going to pick 3 winners. We're going to have 3 beanies. And then I'll pick 3 winners, and we're going to have the 3 cups, okay? So the first one right now is Dave Johnsonola, okay? You're one of the winners. You get a beanie, so send me an email. I'm going to do it again. AG Maintenance and Repair, you got a beanie. Go ahead and send me an email. Richard Asaro, you got a beanie. Send me an email. Okay, we're going to do 3 more right now for the cups, okay, the tumbler cups. Michael Civitas, or Civits, you got a cup. The Connected LTD, you got a cup. You guys got to send me an email, okay? And Brian Guzman, you got a cup, okay? So that's it. We got 3 cups and 3 beanies, okay? So that is it. You guys send me an email. That's it, to hvacrvideos@gmail.com. At gmail.com. And thanks to Ralph for giving the cups, okay? And the beanies. That was really cool of him. Again, I didn't ask him to. He just sent it, okay? All right. So that's it. You guys got to send me the emails, okay? Because I'm not going to remember. I'm not going to go through all the headaches of that. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and let the chat calm down. I'm going to answer another question here real quick. This is a really important one, and I want to address this, okay? I'm not going to say the guy's name. I'm just going to call you Anonymous, okay? Just because I don't want to single you out. So Anonymous sent me an email, and here's the situation. He worked for an auto manufacturer. They basically laid him off. They sent the company to Mexico or another country to, you know, basically outsource the stuff. And he got a government subsidized education to get into the HVAC program. But he's been working for a company. Again, I'm paraphrasing. Okay, I apologize if I'm butchering your email, but he's been working for a company for a year or two, something like that. And he just feels like he's going nowhere, and the company's not giving him a shot, basically. Okay, he's definitely older, he said. I think he might have said he was in his upper 40s, I think, is what he said. And he just feels like, you know, nobody's giving him a shot. He's applied at other places and nobody will give him a shot. He thinks it's because of his age. Okay. And he wanted to know if I had any thoughts on this, if I had any ideas as to what was going on. So first off, I know that our trade needs people in our trade right now. We need people. We are short on technicians. Okay. At the same time, we have an influx of people like you that have been, you know, they've lost their jobs and they've had subsidized educations, retraining programs, and they've gotten into the trade at a later age, okay? Some people get into the trade really young, and some people get into the trade a lot older. There's benefits to both, okay? Someone who's getting into the trade a lot older, they're typically don't have that young mentality. They're not being stupid for the most part. You know, they're not doing stupid things. They don't have the me attitude, okay? Not everybody, but this is just, you know, a few of them, okay? But then at the same time, in your situation, you're a lot older, okay? You know, you probably don't move as fast, okay? So I don't know your situation exactly, all right? I don't know why companies aren't hiring you. I don't know why the company that you're working for is not giving you a shot. But the first thing that I'm going to say with anybody that has a problem with their company, first off, here's how I do things, okay? I'm going to tell you how I would deal with it. I look in the mirror and I say, what can I do to change this? What have I done to make this happen? Okay, I'm not saying that you're the problem, but that's how I approach things. I look at it as I'm doing something wrong and I need to work hard to figure it out, okay? So if you are older, you have a disadvantage because people are, and it's sad, but I'm going to be honest with you, people are going to look at you and they're going to say, yeah, I'm going to hire a 16-year-old or a 17-year-old over a 47-year-old or whatever your age is, okay? People are going to do that. They're going to discriminate like that. It sucks. There's nothing you could do about it. It's life. It's going to happen. You have worth, okay? You are worth something and you can be an asset to someone, okay? It's just getting them to give you a shot. What I would suggest in your situation, first off, is you have to be prepared for the job, okay? Whatever tools you need them. You got to do what you got to do to walk in the door with the tools that you need, okay? If you don't have the tools that you need, all right, I don't know what your company provides, but if you don't have those tools, Chad, thank you very much, but I really appreciate that super chat, man. If you don't have those tools, then you need to get them. You need to do whatever you need to do. The way that I looked at it, again, this was not the right mentality completely, but I'm just telling you how I did it. Tools came first for me. Tools made me money. So my family got fed, but then I got tools, and that was it, okay? I had to have my tools, all right? Very important, okay? Because if you don't have your tools, you can't work. The next thing, you got to make yourself different from everybody else, okay? I don't know what your shape is. Me personally, I'm out of shape. I'm about 203 pounds. I'm about 5'10". I'm a little bit heavy. I'm chubby, I guess you can say, okay? I'm not as active as I need to be. And if I was to go knock on someone's door today versus me knocking on someone's door when I was 17, they might think twice, okay? I understand there's people that are bigger than me. There's people that are smaller than me, but I'm just giving you an example. Life happens when you get older and you do get bigger and you have to work past that, okay? I can't climb into some of the places that I used to climb into. And that would be a problem, especially if I went to go work for someone else. Now, as an employer, I got to look out for my best interests, okay? Again, I don't know your situation. I'm thinking about it as an employer. And I think about it from your employer standpoint and say, you know, you need to look in the mirror. You need to try to figure out what it is that you need to do to fix this problem, okay? Again, I don't know all your details, so I can't answer to everything. But that is my gut answer to your question, okay? Is look in the mirror. What can you do to solve this, okay? How are you different than the guy next coming knocking on the door? Is he younger? Is he skinnier? Is he more eager? I don't know. Okay. But you got to look at that and you got to fix that. You know, I can't answer that for you. I don't know if I really answered your question. I'm going to call you anonymous again. Hopefully I did. Hopefully I gave you some perspective. If you need some more context, and I hope I didn't offend you in any way. I didn't mean to if I did, okay? You have some hurdles to overcome. For those of you that are older that want to get into the trade right now, I highly would suggest that you apply for stationary positions, because service companies that are active and driving around and climbing in attics and crawl spaces and stuff are going to think twice about hiring older people that are bigger. Insurance rates are also another thing, because I have to insure you. You cost me more money to insure than a 20-year-old, okay? In some ways not, but I mean, that's life. You know, we have to look at those numbers as companies, okay? So you got to separate yourself from everybody else. Only you can answer what's different and why they're not giving you a shot or why they're not promoting you. Okay. So again, don't be offended. Feel free to send me an email, hvacrvideos@gmail.com. So we'll go from there. All right. Let me see what else we got going on. Hello, Mr. Ted. How you doing today, bud? All right. Zach Trudeau, thank you very much, man. I really appreciate it. Okay. Yeah, be as problem-free as you can to the office. Be a yes man. That is true. Okay, they definitely do. I really appreciate these super chat guys. You guys are awesome. Okay, so hopefully I answered that question. Let's see what else we got. Could lack of service for roughly 2 years cause a leak on a condenser elbow coil? Lack of service. I mean, sure, I guess one could argue that if your condenser coil is dirty, it's going to be running higher pressures. Therefore, it's going to be under more stress. I guess that's kind of a far shot, but I guess that could cause it. The other thing that can cause leaks on condensers, I don't know if you're talking about a residential or an air conditioning system, is ambient environments, corrosive air, dogs pissing on the condenser, that kind of stuff. People washing the condenser and not cleaning the condensers off, those can cause leaks too. There's also cheap copper, that cheap copper from 4 years ago or something like that just had leaks all the time. I mean, it's hard to say what causes the leak for sure, unless I'm there and seeing what you have to deal with. So, hopefully I wasn't too hard on that person that asked me that question, guys. Let me know in the chat if you think I was. So, have I worked on any compressors with PVE oil? Yes, I have. Some of the Carrier compressors have PVE oil in them. The Danfoss compressors had PVE oil in with R22. I mean, I really don't have anything bad to say about it. So, let's see what else. Let's see. I'll give you another super chat if you just pronounce my name correctly just once. Zach Trudeau? Trudeau? Or is it... There's no way your name is Zach Truix. It's Trudeau, right? Trow? Maybe Trow. I bet you your name is Trow. Your name looks like French. Is that... I don't know what it is, Zach. Is it French? Zach Trow? Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm curious. All right. All right. I'm going to go to the next thing in here real quick, okay? Let me see what else. Okay, so question that I had about the video that I released today was the health department. So obviously my thumbnail pointed out that the box was really dirty inside, okay? And then they said, how do restaurants operate with their refrigerators being that dirty? So, true acts? That's really interesting, Zach. True acts. Huh. Okay. That's a very unique name. Is it French? True X. Okay. Huh. Very interesting. You're American. That's really interesting, Zach. Dude, you got to understand that your name looks French, bro. That's very interesting, man. Okay. All right. So people ask about the health department. Guys, the health department in my area is a joke, okay? The health department doesn't shut. It's silly. I mean, they'll shut someone down, but then they don't look, okay? Their policy is not to open up ice machines. It makes me laugh because on any given day, I can shut down any one of my restaurants if I grab the health inspector by the hand and just showed him things. But I don't, obviously, because I want to keep my job. But, you know, it's very interesting that the health department doesn't get their fingers in because they're supposed to be looking out for our best interests, but they don't open things. They don't look in things. They don't, you know, they just look at like cosmetic. They open the ice machine view doors, you know. Hey, Ruben. They just open the ice machine view doors. Thank you very much, Ruben. I really appreciate that, bud. You know, and they barely do anything. It's, you know, it's very interesting. So, you know, restaurants actually hire secondary audit companies to come in and audit them in between the health department. And the audit companies, such as like EcoSure, EverClean, there's a couple other ones too, they are more strict than the health department. It's very interesting. So another question that I constantly get on my thing, I get it from so many people, is why do we plumb our drains on our air conditioning units into the building, and why don't we just drain them on the roof? Okay, you got to understand something. Number one, I live in California. We're the biggest hippie state. Okay, we're all eco-friendly, whatever. I'm not judging anybody if you're all eco-friendly, hippie, whatever, mumbo jumbo, okay? Environmentally conscious, whatever. And we pass laws like crazy before we even think about them, okay? But the whole idea of us piping condensate drains from air conditioning units into the sewer and not draining them on the roof is because we don't want that condensate to run off the roof and get onto the street. And basically, we want to be able to treat it, okay? But we also don't want it running onto the streets where people can slip and fall. Our drains all mainly run to the sewer. I'm sorry, to the ocean, and they don't, we have sewers that clean, but then we also have like storm drains, and we don't want the roof runoff running into the storm drains. We're supposed to have it run into the sewer where it can be treated before it goes to the ocean. Okay. Ironically, the storm drains are full of homeless people that do drugs. They piss, they crap, whatever inside the storm drains, and that's running into the ocean and not being treated. But anyways, we'll just let our state make these laws that say we have to take our condensate drainage from the roof instead of putting it down onto the roof. Basically, we got to run it into the sewers. Okay, so it's a code violation basically here in California. We have to have our drains running into the sewer where it can be treated before it goes to the ocean, basically. Okay, we don't want it running onto the street where it gets into the storm drains and goes to the ocean before it's treated. Also, on another side note, there's a lot of cities that don't allow us to have a coil cleaner go down the drain. And technically, we're supposed to set up barriers and collect our coil cleaner and like soak it up and dispose of it properly. We're not supposed to let it run down the drains. It's a whole weird thing. So, Zach, thank you very much, man. I really appreciate that super chat, dude. I don't know, HVAC rookie, about A2L refrigerant going to be a replacement for 600 or 290. I honestly don't know, okay? That might be a question to send to Ralph at Honeywell. He might be able to answer that a little bit for you, okay? Let me see. Yeah, California is crazy. Guys, another thing too, and talking to Ralph today about the R448A refrigerantors, there's over 20 states that are adopting new laws just like California, where they're going to ban 404A refrigerant, basically, okay? So you guys are all going to eventually have to start changing over to the different replacement refrigerants for 404A. Again, Ralph can tell you guys all those states and different things. Send him an email. He'll answer that one. He sent me, again, so many PDFs that basically have so much information, but there's over 20 states, including Puerto Rico, I believe, that entered into the agreement to start getting rid of those refrigerants. So Storm Donald, thank you very much, man. I really appreciate that super chat, bud. That's awesome. These are awesome, man. Again, these super chats are cool. Why do RTUs have their evaporators before the fan as opposed to after? HVAC kid. Before the fan as opposed to after. I've seen some RTUs with evaporators after the fan too. I've seen them both ways. The ones that had evaporators after the fan, like there's some old Lennox package units that had the evaporators, and basically after the fan is we would have condensate blow off like crazy. That was a big issue. As far as why we have them, I don't know. We typically run negative air pressure on our drain pans. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know that one, Isaiah. But I just know that when we had the evaporator after, we had a lot of condensate blow off. That was an issue for sure. So let's see what else. Yeah, see, Chad is saying in Santa Monica at a restaurant. Yeah, Santa Monica is a very liberal city, and yeah, they won't let you use coil cleaner on the roof at all. So yeah, definitely. What was my most challenging service call, Carlos? I thought about that one. I kind of going back and forth between a couple stories about my most challenging service call. And it's kind of hard because, what was my most challenging service call back then probably wouldn't be as challenging today, okay? But, you know, I would say one of the most challenging service calls back then, and again, it would probably still be a difficult one today, was a very old, it was a 20-year-old evaporator coil on a walk-in cooler, and it was logged with oil from the compressor. I wasn't too smart. I didn't know a lot about how systems operated properly, and diagnosing an oil-logged evaporator. Con, thank you very much. Con Tran, I think I pronounced your name right there, bud. Thank you very much for that super chat. That was very nice. Okay, thank you guys. So diagnosing an oil-logged evaporator on a walk-in cooler is a very difficult one. And it kind of came down to I didn't understand what was going on, and I'd pretty much changed every part besides the compressor because I knew the compressor was working. And I diagnosed the evaporator, and it was kind of a guess, to be honest with you. So I wouldn't say it was a fair service call. I got it right. We ate a lot of parts, basically. We didn't charge the customer for a lot of stuff, but yeah, the evaporator was logged with oil, and it was creating a problem. So we had low evaporator performance, we had low suction pressure, in hindsight, we had a semi-hermetic compressor that had an oil sight glass. So I'm sure I could have just looked at that oil sight glass and said, oh, gee, it's low on oil. But back then I didn't look at that stuff. So again, it's kind of hard to say what's the most challenging stuff as opposed to today. Oftentimes the most challenging service calls for me end up being calls where I go behind another company and I have to undo the mess that they created to diagnose the existing problem. Those are definitely interesting ones. Whereas, we find out that they put the wrong refrigerant in the system. It's got mixed refrigerants, all to find out that the reason why they did everything, they overcharged the unit, all this different stuff was because it had a plugged up metering device, So it's kind of hard for me to say one exact service call, but there's definitely been a couple. So, all right, let's see what else. Any good way to clean a Hoshizaki condenser coil where the fan blows through the coil instead of pulling air through it? The dirt and grease collects on the inside between the coil and the fans. I know exactly what you're talking about, Robbie G. First off, that is a self-contained Hoshizaki ice machine. The fan is, it pulls across the fan, blows through the coil, then blows out the back, okay? Those ones are very difficult to clean. The easiest way to do that is to pull the fan motor and fan blade out, take all the ice out of the bin and then get coil cleaner on there and clean it. It is going to drip down into the bin even though it's in the compressor section because it just will. So definitely remove all the ice from the bin and ice machine cleaner, and then get those stupid little filters they keep on the front of the Hoshizakis. Those things have to be there. Get those things back on there and that will help you definitely for sure. All right, let's see what else we got going on. Best place to learn how to use Measure Quick. Oh, that's easy. Go to Measure Quick's YouTube page. Jim Bergman has put up tons of videos on how to use Measure Quick. That's the easiest place. Jim Bergman makes it super easy. The next thing I want to get into, guys, is I'm going to pull up my phone. I've gotten this a bunch of times, people asking me what apps I use on my phone. And I'm going to pull that up real quick and show you guys. So I'm going to screen share again. Let me do something here real quick. Let me pull this screen over. And let's put this one over there. Oops, nope, not that one. I definitely just want to, it won't take me long. I'm just going to show you guys the different apps that I use real quick. Okay, so there we go. And I'm going to go ahead and do a screen share real quick. So I'm going to do display capture, close that out, close that out. All right, so we should be on my screen right now. So again, I'm using the Samsung Dex app on my phone, okay? And all that I'm going to do is I have a little folder right here with my work apps. Actually, I need to get out of that, and it's right here. I can pull up the different apps that I have on my work, okay? So what we have here, I'm going to show you the most common apps, okay? BayWeb is just an internet thermostat. Bluon, I've honestly never used the app. I just downloaded it one time and looked at it. BlueVac, I do use that. That's for the BlueVac micron gauge. The most important apps I want to show you guys here right here, okay? Carrier Commercial Literature is one of them. This is a great app, okay? This app right here, you input any carrier model number. Let's just say 48H. I think that might be a model number. Let's see, a 48J. I can't remember. Okay, so 48H, okay? So what it does is it gives you all kinds of different equipment right here. You can look up for installation instructions, service instructions for any of the Carrier 48H series ones. Another thing right here, if it's an old piece of equipment, you click this non-current thing right here and you click show, okay? Then you look up the old equipment and it'll show the old equipment model numbers, okay? That is a great, great app, all right? I'm gonna go ahead and close out of that one real quick. Let's open. So the Carrier Commercial, all you gotta do is look up Carrier on the App Store, whatever it is, and you'll come up with it. Copeland Mobile is the #1 app, guys. If you don't have Copeland Mobile, you need to get it. You can input any Copeland compressor, CR18KQ, okay? KQ, PFV. You can look up any one of these, okay? 208 single phase, or I think this is 200 single phase. This goes for, they have 250 hertz. They have 208 60 hertz. They have all kinds of stuff. But the cool thing they have in here is they have the service parts, okay? Look at all your starting components, guys. You can help the supply house out by saying, here's the Copeland part numbers, and then they can look it up that way instead of giving them the model number, and then they stare at it for hours, okay? You could do all that. The Copeland mobile app is great. It has diagnostics too. You can input information. Let's just say your suction pressure is 48, your discharge pressure is 227, your current draw is 15 amps, and you can calculate. And it tells you that your current draw is from rated data amp 6.1. It basically says the difference between rated and actual current draw is 145.9%. I just inputted those numbers out my butt, basically. And it tells you shut down the system immediately. Do not troubleshoot while running because it says it's over 20%. Copeland mobile app, guys. Definitely get the Copeland mobile app. It has schematics. It has mechanical, part numbers, everything, okay? Copeland mobile app is definitely an awesome app. The Fieldpiece app, if you guys have the JobLink probes, definitely check out the Fieldpiece app, okay? Supply houses have apps too. Grainger has an app, guys. The Grainger app, you can look up part numbers. You can do all kinds of stuff. Heatcraft has an app. Look at HVAC Shop Talk Radio. I don't even know if you can get that one anymore. I don't even know if that one works, to be honest with you. HVAC School, iManifold. I don't even use the iManifold stuff anymore. Danfoss, they have an app for their ERC controllers, cool code. You can input numbers and it tells you different things about the ERC controllers. It's Adapt Cool controller. Sorry, that's a different one. But you can search different controllers too, get all kinds of information. Let's see. Measure Quick. You guys, Measure Quick is an amazing app. Diagnose all kinds of stuff. They have a refrigeration. They have a beta app basically in the refrigeration mode right now. Definitely check that out, okay? Yeah, we're not going to deal with that right now. Input all your information. Measure Quick is a great app, okay? Let's go down to the bottom real quick. Refrigerant slider. That's pretty much it, guys. Tecumseh has a great app, just like the Copeland Mobile. It doesn't have as much information as the Copeland Mobile does, but it's a great app too. Train 360 has a lot of information about train equipment. TCC. Oh, yeah, that one doesn't work. That's my thermostat at my house. That's not going to work right now. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the screen share off and go ahead and come back to the webcam right now, transition that back over. Again, I get that question all the time, guys. People asking me about the apps on my phone. So check those things out. They definitely are great apps, okay? Let me see what else we got in here. Also, the Honeywell PT app is in 1 degree increments, definitely. So I thought I had the Honeywell PT app on there, Ralph. I think I do, but I don't know if I put it in my folder there. I swear I do have that app, but maybe I don't. But yeah, Honeywell, guys, all you need to do is go to the App Store and just look up HVAC, and you'll start seeing all these different apps. Very, very good ones, okay? Yeah, I don't have Tender, guys. I have Grinder. Yeah, I have the Grinder app there, Bill. Yeah, the Grinder app. That's my dating app that I look for. So, all right, let's see what else we got going on there. Do I still have R502 equipment out in service? Yes, I do, Isaiah. I still have 2 or 3 R502 systems out there. Actually, I just changed one over about 2 weeks ago. That was one of the last ones that I had, but I still have, I think, 2 or 3 more. So yeah, changed the equipment over. The compressor was still running great. It's funny too, because when I recovered the gas out of it, I remember that smell, the 502 refrigerant with the mineral oil. You can smell it and you're just like, oh yeah, that's 502. It has a very distinct smell to it. So, yeah, and Bracco, everybody has apps, dude. It's just about what you guys use. So, all right, let me see what else I have on my list here that I want to talk about. Trade school. This is something that I want to address right now. I get so many questions, guys. Do not take offense to this, okay? If you did this, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to offend you, but I'm just being straight and honest, okay? Just because you graduated trade school does not mean you can start your own service company. You guys would not be surprised the amount of questions that I get from people, okay? I just finished trade school, but I don't understand how much to charge my customers. You're asking me the wrong question, bud. You need to go work for someone, okay? If you work for a service company and you just finished trade school and they have you doing service calls and you just graduated trade school, they're doing you an injustice. You need a proper apprenticeship. You need to ride with someone and you need to learn properly. I'm not saying you need to ride with someone for 2 years, but you need a break-in period. They should not be throwing you to the wolves, okay? There's some things that you do have to learn. I'm not saying that it doesn't help to finally put someone out there and see what they can do, but they shouldn't be throwing you out there to nowhere, okay? You need to learn properly so that way you don't make mistakes and you don't hurt anybody. At the very beginning of the stream, I talked about that horrible thing that happened at a restaurant where one of the employees mixed the chemicals on the floor and the manager died because they had a chlorine gas coming out of the floor, basically, okay? That can happen so easily from an experienced technician. Now imagine a non-experienced technician that's sent to clean an ice machine, and he picks up bleach and he picks up ice machine cleaner and he mixes the two of them, guys. You can hurt yourself. Just because you finish trade school does not mean you know what you're doing, okay? Trade school does not teach you enough to get out there and start fixing things, nor should any service company expect or be angry at a trade school when a student comes out not knowing how to do something. The trade school just gives you the basics, okay? And then you have to be field taught. That's just plain and simple how it works, okay? I don't mean to offend anybody, but I get so many questions from people saying, I want to start my business. You have no business starting a business, and I don't even address them, okay? I just leave them be because it's insane. It's very sad too to see, okay? Exactly, Ernesto. Dude, I get so many questions. So many. You guys wouldn't believe how many emails I get from people. Yeah, I need to know how to do this. You know, it's like, good gosh, all right? What are my hours like? Zach, I don't know if you were asking me, Zach, okay? But my hours, I don't work very much right now. We're kind of slow right now, so we're getting 6-7 hours a day. We're not a crazy supermarket company. We don't do crazy business. We don't like to be super busy, so we stay moderately busy. The guys right now are getting anywhere from 35 to 40 hours a week, you know, and that's just how it goes, so. All right, is there three-phase power for residential in my area, Isaiah? No, there is not. Not in my area. If you have a rural area, you can pay to have three-phase brought in if the utility, but I mean, it would cost you a lot of money to give three-phase. We have 208 single-phase for residential, so yes, it does. Just give you the basics. Yeah, techs wanting a lot of money fresh out of school, for sure. That's another thing that happens too. So when do you require winter charge and on what unit? Storm Donald Huffman. So winter charge is on a unit that has a head pressure control valve, okay, or a holdback valve and a, I can't think of, it's a 2-valve, basically low ambient control. Head pressure control valves, you can have an LAC valve, you can have a, what do they call this one? This one's called a, I can't remember what this one's called right now, but this is another head pressure control valve. And then they have a holdback valve, and then you have a discharge bypass valve. I'm trying to remember how that works, but I don't do any of the big industrial stuff. But head pressure control is a low ambient control for when it gets very cold outside. When that happens, what we do is we flood our condenser. While flooding the condenser, we're using extra refrigerant, so we have to add a winter charge, okay? The word winter charge, another question that I got a bunch was, if you add the winter charge, don't you have to take it out in the summer? No, okay? If your system is designed properly, you don't have to take that refrigerant out. There's enough capacity in the refrigerant in the system for there to be a stored winter charge all summer long that just sits there in the receiver, and then when it gets cold, it's there, okay? So if the system is designed properly, you don't have to take it out. All right. Let's see what else we got. What are my thoughts on NATE certification? Is that part of the licensing process? Jesse Torres. NATE certification is not a requirement for anybody. NATE unless you're doing like utility work. Okay, NATE certification is a certification that doesn't mean a lot to a lot of service companies, but certain utilities. So say for instance, I have a residential company or even a commercial company that does work for our local power company. And when I say work, our local power company has subsidized things that they can do for customers to save energy, basically, okay? And it's just a bunch of government BS, basically, where they're pushing energy savings. It's ironic, right? Let's just say my local electric company, Southern California Edison, okay? They offer programs where I can install energy-saving equipment on their customers to save their customers money. The power company's not wanting to do that, trust me, okay? It's the utility, basically, what do they call them? The state of California basically comes in here and says, you guys have to save energy, okay? The electric company wants to make as much money as possible, but they come in and basically have to install energy-saving devices, and I'm going off on a tangent right now, and I totally lost my train of thought where I was going with that one. But I think I don't even know where I was talking about. So yeah, I'll get started on something else. I lost my train of thought. If I have a CPR, do I also use a headmaster, or does it replace it? No, a CPR valve is a pressure regulator for the suction pressure coming back to the compressor. A CPR valve has nothing to do with a low ambient control. This is a cutaway of a CPR valve. This was a flare one, okay? And all that this does is reduce the suction pressure coming back to the compressor to keep the current draw down, or the amount of work the condensing unit or the compressor has to do during a hot pull down. So after defrost, the system's under a heavy load, it's going to run higher amps. So this regulates the suction pressure coming back. This has nothing to do with a low ambient control. All right. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there, guys. Hey, Joe, thank you very much for that super chat, man. Yeah, I went off on a tangent as usual. I always go off on a tangent. All right. I work on 3-phase residential split systems in a commercial setting. They're comfort makers. Okay, so yeah, they offer 3-phase residential split system, but in a commercial, well, because you can get a 3-phase split system that has a residential style condensing unit. You could do that, and it's in a commercial setting. I mean, if you can get 3-phase power to a resi, you can get 3-phase equipment for sure. So is hot gas bypass common where I'm at? Not on the equipment that I work on. If I was working in supermarket stuff, sure. In the older supermarket stuffs, I bet you I'd see a lot of hot gas bypass. But I don't deal with hot gas bypass very much. I had at one point one system that had a hot gas bypass as a low ambient control, or a low capacity control, or capacity control, I should say. It was a parallel compressor system. But it's not in operation anymore. So no, I don't deal with that very much at all. So. All right, guys, I'm going to go through my thing right here. I just have this typed on here, and this is based off of a question that I got. They don't make them like they used to. And this is the truth, guys, okay? Equipment is not built to last anymore. I'm pulling, like, for instance, last week I changed a walk-in freezer condensing unit. That was an R502 system. It was very old. That system was from 1987. The new Heatcraft equipment, which was the same equipment that was in there, what was in there was a Larkin condensing unit. I installed a new Larkin condensing unit. Will not last more than 5 years. Hold my, exactly. Okay? They don't make equipment like they used to. We do that to ourselves. It's not the manufacturers that are doing this, guys. It's us as consumers. It's the Amazon effect. We demand lower prices, therefore they give us lower priced equipment. It's cheaper. The quality is not there. It's gotten to the point that you can't even pay for high quality anymore. Hey, thanks, Joe. I really appreciate that, bud. Yeah, it's gotten to the point that you can't even pay for high quality anymore. Okay, unless you're building something custom, you just can't get it that way anymore. So, all right. Yeah, California Public Utility Commission. Thank you very much, 4-liter power. I was trying to think of their name. But anyways, they're the ones that basically say that the utilities have to offer all these whatever energy saving BS. And, we go in there, we can be a contractor. Now you reminded me what I was talking about. I was talking about NATE certification. So if you want to do any work for the utility to install any of this subsidized energy saving BS, you got to be NATE certified. NATE certification is not something that, is going to get you a $10 raise or anything like that. But okay, a lot of people don't believe in NATE certification, and in some ways, it is kind of a racket, in my opinion, that you have to pay money to redo your certification every year. Okay, but what I like about NATE certification, or ESCO certification, or the RSCS certification, any one of those certifications, what I like about them and why I pay for mine and want my employees to maintain them too, is because it makes sure that they continue their education. In order to maintain that certification, they have to go to continuing education training. Okay. Ironically, I wonder if I can get continuing education training from these live streams for you guys. That's another thing too. I'm gonna have to reach out to some people and see if I can get you guys some continuing education hours for these. But because I bet you guys learn half the time when you go to those things, you don't learn very much. So I imagine my mediocre live stream gives you guys just as much education as one of those training classes would. But anyway, so that I answered your question about the NATE certification. So yeah, I have NATE certification for myself. Some of my employees have it. Do I require it of them? No, but I like it because it just, in order to maintain it, it shows that they're willing to put in the time to learn, to continue to learn. So that's what I like about any of those certification programs. So, all right, let's see what else. Yeah, RSCS is definitely weak, Zach. Yeah, I'm part of my local chapter, and in all honesty, I'm going to be completely honest. I used to be very active. I'm the secretary of my chapter. I send out the newsletter. In fact, I need to send out the newsletter tonight because we have a meeting at my local chapter tomorrow. I haven't been to a meeting in a very long time. It's just been something that I haven't made an effort to go to. Plus, my wife works on Tuesday night, so I stay home with the kids. But RSCS is not very active anymore. But their training, their certification program, if you guys can pass the CM exam, if anybody in here is CM certified, I applaud you because I failed that thing 2 times. But granted, I never studied. But to give you guys context, I have multiple NATE certifications that I never studied for. The NATE was super easy to pass, okay? For someone who has industry experience, I'm not saying a person that just came into the trade can pass a NATE, but if you have industry experience, I passed the NATE refrigeration, heat pump, air conditioning, and whatever, all those different ones without studying one bit. Now, I tried to do that with the RSCS CM exam, and I failed it 2 times. So the CM exam is definitely a tough one. So Adam, dude, thank you very much, man. I really appreciate it, man. You're awesome, dude. Thanks for the super chat, dude. Do I think direct drive exhaust fans are... thank you very much, HVAC rookie. Do I think direct drive exhaust fans are designed stupid? My boss and I talked about it. We said belt-driven exhaust fans are better. Molly. So the big thing about direct drive exhaust fans... thank you, Joe. I really appreciate that super chat. You guys are awesome. The thing about direct drive exhaust fans is they save the customer money because they don't have to change belts. Okay, so it's one of those things where the customer may not look at it. As a service perspective, it's harder for me to get a direct drive motor on the fly versus my supply houses. They stock belt-driven motors all day long, okay? Direct drive exhaust fans are typically inverter-driven, okay, or ECM motors, so they're going to be more susceptible to power problems. So there's goods and bads to them, but they're more efficient. They can save energy. They don't have to change belts. The maintenance costs are lower, different things like that. So you got to kind of weigh it out and see which one's more beneficial for you. So yeah, the super chats, guys, thank you very much. Let's see what else. Anyone taken the CEFSA refrigeration test? Robbie G. No, I have not. I'm interested in it, but I have not taken it. I've talked to some people that have. So I've heard CEFSA is really big on electrical stuff. So Mobster, I've been one frost. Okay, so let me see if I have anything else on my list. We talked about multiple people asked me about the Supco magnetic umbrella. Again, I get some questions where it seems whatever, but where to get them from? Just go to your supply houses, guys. Supco. You could just look up on Supco's website. Just ask the Google for a Supco magnetic umbrella. You can get them from True Tech Tools. You can use Zach's discount code from True Tech Tools. Just type in Shop Talk for the discount code, and you'll get like 8% off the umbrella, and you can order it from True Tech Tools if your supply house doesn't have it. So let's see what else. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys hit the like button. It definitely helps out the stream. And let's see what else. What do I got on my thing? I pretty much am answering all these questions, guys. So if you guys have any more questions, throw them in here. One of my mottos, look at the big picture, right? I'm always looking at the big picture, but the next motto that I use all the time is think about the next guy. When you're working on equipment, I posted something on Instagram and Facebook today about working on a Hvacr Blue system. When you're working on equipment, think about the next guy and make it easier for him, okay? When you're doing installations, think about that. If you're an installer, think about how hard it's going to be to service. If you're a service guy, you typically can, hopefully if you're a service guy, you can do installations because you can fix it. You should be able to install it. But anyways, there is an art to installations though too. I'm not going to quote myself and say I'm a badass installer. I'm not. But when I do installations, I stop. They probably take me way too long because I think about the big picture. I'm thinking about where I'm running my piping. What if I have to change that motor? What if I have to do this? Okay. So when you're doing installations on anything, just think about the next guy. If you're lucky, the next guy is going to be you. So then it's going to be easier to fix it next time. If you're not so lucky, then the next guy is going to think highly of you. Okay. So always try to do your work thinking about the next guy. And remember, again, another thing that I said a while back too, is think about it like someone's going to come behind you and talk shit. So you don't want your work to look bad. Okay. You always want to be worried about the next guy talking shit. So you want to have your work nice and clean. So that way, if they do call in another company, they don't badmouth you either. Okay. Just my 2 cents on that. All right. All right, gentlemen. What flavor is my apple juice? My apple juice is Hold on. I just realized that I had my apple juice sitting in a... my apple juice is Oktoberfest. It is a BJ's Brewhouse apple juice. My favorite right now. Favorite time of the season right now because we get Oktoberfest. So, but it's kind of going out. It's one of those things where I really don't like the Sam Adams Oktoberfest either, but I like the BJ's Brewhouse. It's a local restaurant we have here. So, all right. Shit talking. That's exactly it. Yep. It's About Q is a program that will pay for your NATE exam, and that is definitely true, HVAC rookie. So It's About Q is a subsidized education program. Its parent company is called HVACR EDU. So for those of you in other states besides California, check out HVACR EDU. If you're in California, check out It's About Q. It's subsidized by PG&E, San Diego Gas and Electric, and Southern California Edison, I believe, and SoCal Gas. You can get all kinds of free education, air balance, electrical, everything. And you can get NATE certifications too. So let's see what else we got going on. All right, gentlemen, I really appreciate you guys coming in. I'm going to go ahead and close up this stream because I got nothing else to talk about unless you guys throw any more questions. But by the time I click the close thing, your questions will be mute. So, have I accidentally put apple juice in a walk-in freezer instead of R4? What? Walk instead of 410, although alcohol can be flammable. No, I don't know what you're talking about there, Molly. Right on. Any recommendations on literature or online learn more on commercial refrigeration and ice makers? I'll say it again, just like I say it every single time. There's a book inside the show notes of this stream. It's called Commercial Refrigeration for Air Conditioning Technicians. It's written by Dick Wirz, W-I-R-Z. If you're doing commercial refrigeration, get this book. It will give you a great introductory whatever into commercial refrigeration. HVACR EDU also has a commercial refrigeration program that is free if you're in California. Other states it may not be. That gives you that book as part of the program. So JJ Services, thank you very much, man. I really, really appreciate it. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and close this stream out. I really appreciate you guys coming in. I'm going to go ahead and transition on over right here to the intro picture. Definitely remember, guys, from the beginning to enter the Sporlin contest, the hashtag Sporlin85. And we are closing out.